Slater Magic here, and it's time to look at my first deck that, if you've been following me on Twitter, you know I'm pretty proud of, and I am working up in power level. This one's maybe a 7 out of 10. It's just good. It's, you know, competitive, but not like, whoa, unbelievable. And the next one's about an 11. So if this looks like fun, build it. But if you're just looking to absolutely demolish people while spending the least amount of money possible, might want to watch for the next one. Should be uploading today. So this one's pretty simple. It's just black improvise, and you're probably thinking, why though? Like, why are you building an improvise deck right now? Well, don't really have an answer for that, but it's a damn good deck. So, I don't know. That train hasn't left the station yet, so check it out. First, we got Mirrorpool. Not very necessary. You could honestly run 22 swamps and you wouldn't be missing much. I just threw these in because they're fun. Also, they're severe overkill, which is always funny. So Mirrorpool enters the battlefield tapped. I hate that. That's why there's 2 of them. It only generates colorless, which, as you can see, is not a terribly big deal in this particular deck. And if you pay 3, including one that's mandatory colorless, not just any color, that has to be colorless. That's the diamond little symbol thing. Sacrifice Mirrorpool and copy target instant or sorcery spell you control. You may choose new targets. Not very important, and you would almost never use it with Battle at the Bridge. And that is the only qualifying spell in the entire deck. So, not great. But if you pay 5, including 1 colorless, sacrifice Mirrorpool, put a token onto the battlefield that's a copy of target creature you control. Oh, that's a fun one. Once you finally get out some giant bomb creature, boom, now you got 2. I mean, it's just that good. So that's almost exclusively the reason it's in there. Actually, it pretty much is. I put in 1 Blighted Fen because that's funny to me. Probably could put in 2 or 3. It's just, oh, look, colorless mana. Cool, I can use that. Except late game, oh, haha, bypasses hexproof and indestructible. Sack something. That's kind of fun. Then we got a boatload of swamps. 1 more added at the end there. I'm sure the deck list will look just great. And then 3 Inventors Fairs. Now, these are huge. The only reason there's 3 is because they're legendary. So you kind of need your mana when you need it, and you need 100% of it. So you do not want these to cross in a game. There's, I think, like a 20 to 30% chance that that will happen naturally. So that's reasonable. But what it does, oh my god. So at the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 3 or more artifacts, you gain a life. So in other words, you gain a life during your upkeep. Add 1 colorless to your mana pool. Cool. And it generates colorless, which the swamps don't. That's nice. And then if you pay 4 of any color and tap it and then sacrifice it, so as I like to call it, 5, because it's a land and you have to tap it, search your library for any artifact card, reveal it, put it in your hand, and then shuffle it. And you can only do that if you control 3 or more artifacts. That's kind of annoying, actually. But you would use it to go get Barricade Breaker, Metalwork, maybe Mirage if you want to do something real particular. I mean, it's mostly just a Metalwork fetcher. So, not that important at all. Honestly, Mirrorpool is the one I'd go for. But like I said, you could just completely run 22 swamps. So, the big bomb is Battle at the Bridge. This is huge. So improvise, if you're not familiar, your artifacts can help cast this spell. Each artifact, creature, or otherwise, by the way, you tap after you're done activating mana abilities, pays for 1 colorless for this spell. And then this, of course, has generic, I should say, not colorless. Kind of important in this deck. The X is generic, so there you go. So target creature gains -X until end of turn, and you gain X life. So you could -10 an Ulamog, kill it, and then gain 10 life. And trust me, 10 is a low number in this deck. Like, you have no idea. So then we got Pacification Array, arguably the best artifact in Standard right now. I mean, maybe some piece of equipment, maybe, but I don't know. This is just damn good. It comes out for 1, so there you go. You paid 1, and it's basically an Elvish Mystic, because improvise. But then if you wanted to, you pay 2 generic, tap it, and tap target artifact or creature. Now that's actually really important because it'll take down a vehicle before it's crewed, which you'd almost want to do it after it's crewed, but the response and the timing of it is a nightmare. So this is nice because every single upkeep you can do this, and there goes their big 7/7. It can never attack again. Very, 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 very nice. Next we got Thraben Gargoyle. I just needed a creature that's cheap and gets in the way and is actually good late game. Well, there you go. First of all, I mean, it's a 2/2 for 1. That's pretty good, even though it has Defender. If you pay 6 and it flips, it turns into a 4/2 flyer, so that's 4 damage in the air. So that's like an emergency top decathon, oh crap, let's just do this. Next up we got Prophetic Prism. This is just in there so you can play with, well, I was going to say 56 cards, but I only put 3 in, so 57. You cast it, and you draw a card. Ta-da! So it just replaces itself. Commonly known as cantrips, although it costs 2 instead of 1, or instead of 0, and it's not an instant. And yeah, so it's kind of not a cantrip, but it kind of is. Then if you wanted to, you could feed in 1 and spit out any color. So if you really needed black and you were desperate, just lower your battle at the bridge by 1, and then, you know, by effectively tapping a swamp. Actually, no, tap this, pay... No, that just spits it straight out. You don't, there's not really a net loss there. You just, oh, you have to tap this, and then you lose 1 improvise. That's what it was. I knew it was something like that. So, emergency filter, otherwise this is here, and you can sacrifice it if you really, really don't need it. I'll show you how to do that later. Next up, Captain's Claws. This is in here for 2 reasons. One, it's the best equipment in Standard by far. Nothing even touches this. +1 attack, that's huge. You can put it on some piece of garbage and make it actually not suck, like Foundry Inspector. And then whenever equipped creature attacks, put a 1/1 white core ally creature token into the battlefield tapped and attacking. And its equip cost is only 1. You can actually cast this for free with Foundry Inspector, if you get multiple out, which is pretty cool. And generates a token. There's a chump blocker, a little bit extra damage, makes the blocking assignments more complicated. +1 attack is just good. And then the biggest thing is, you can tap this for improvise, and it doesn't make a damn ounce of difference. You still get the triggered ability. The creature that has it equipped can still attack. If you tap the creature, the Captain's Claws don't tap with it. I know a lot of people do it that way, but that's not how it actually works. And then if you tap this, it doesn't tap the creature. So it's just out there. Like, it's good. It's equipment. Yay. But also it's an improvised target that if you tap it, it has no effect on the game whatsoever. It just benefits you. Next up, Mirage Mirror, one of the best cards in all of Hour of Devastation. You pay 2, don't tap it, and Mirage Mirror becomes a copy of target artifact, creature, enchantment, or land, which the land is pretty cool, until end of turn. Doesn't have to be on your side of the battlefield. So if they have something absolutely stupidly huge, clone it. And then you've got, like, usually an automatic chump block or something. If you lose it, you lose it, whatever. It does cost 3. But the other thing is, well, I'll come back to it. It's not going to make sense unless I go through the deck. So, Filigree Familiar, I absolutely hate that this costs 3. I would honestly rather this be a 2-cost 1/1. But when it enters the battlefield, you gain 2 life. Do not discount that. That is huge. And when it dies, draw a card. So it's like a delayed cantrip, and this deck has next to no card draw. So this is just nice. In an urgent situation, you could tap this for improvise, I guess. Otherwise, chump blocker, and then you get a card out of it. It's just good, but it's not good enough to have 4 in there. Next up, Foundry Inspector, real simple. Artifact spells you cast costs 1 less. So, yes, it can be reduced to 0, by the way. And it's a 3/2 for 3. That by itself is not bad. You put claws on this thing, it's pretty damn good. So this is just nice. It even helps out stuff like Metalwork. So next up we got Fen Hauler. This is a garbage version of Herald. It costs 7. It has improvise. You can reduce it down to 1 if you had 6 artifacts. And Fen Hauler can't be blocked by artifact creatures. Oh boy. But otherwise, it's just a slightly overpriced 5/5, but you might be able to cast it for effectively 4 or 3 or 2 or 1. I mean, that's worth it, but wait till you see Herald. This is the whole deck right here, Herald. Costs 7, but you can get it down to 2. It is double black. That's a little rough, but I mean, look at how many swamps there are. So improvise, you can, tap artifacts to help cast him, which is very nice. He's a flying 5/5, so that's 4 hits and it's lethal. And at the beginning of your end step, including the turn he came out, each opponent discards a card. Holy crap. I mean, I've gotten this guy out so damn quick, like turn 4 or 5, something like that. Boom. I mean, that turn, they're already having to discard something during their upkeep before they draw. Well, no, not during their upkeep. During my end step, which is even earlier. It just feels like it's during their upkeep. Either way, it's before their draw step. So if they're down to like 2 cards in hand, now they have 1. Probably a tough decision. So of course, naturally, there's 4 of them. And by the way, they're not legendary. Very nice. Next up, Barricade Breaker. Better than Fen Hauler, but worse than Herald because it's a 7/5. Maybe it's tied with Fen Hauler because it has to attack every combat if able. But you can reduce them to 0. And, I mean, it's almost impossible. I mean, it depends if you count improvising as reducing, but it's nice. I mean, 7 damage is going to kill anything in its path. You just wouldn't even cast him in the first place if they had like a 10/10 Desolation twin out or something. Otherwise, he's just good. I mean, if he dies, whatever. He probably took something with it. I wish he had Trample, but usually he's not, you know, stoppable. And if you put Captain's Claws on him, you'll at least get a little extra mileage out of him. But yeah, he's just good. He's really good. Now, the fun part is he doesn't have haste. So it's not like immediate, oh, I drop him in and then, oh, suicide, you know? So it does give them a turn to respond, but it gives you a turn to maybe set something else up, like before combat, then nuke them with a battle at the bridge. Now they no longer have a giant 5/5 blocker, and then he swings. So very, very, very nice. And finally, Metalwork Colossus, the famous 10/10 for free. And by free, I mean, yeah, pretty much every game it's free. And if it costs like 3 whatever, you probably have 3 at that point. So his cost is reduced by X, where X is the total converted mana cost of non-creature artifacts. Non-creature. So none of these creatures count. Keep that in mind, because some of them cost 7, a lot of them have improvise. Doesn't work. But if you've got 2 Mirage Mirrors, a Captain's Claws, and a Pacification Array out, that's 3, 6, 8, 9. So you could cast him for 2. I mean, that's what it is. And it's almost always just driven by Prophetic Prisms. In fact, sometimes the card you draw is Metalwork. So you can get him out really early. Like, I think turn 5 is possible with this deck. And a 10/10, I mean, yeah, he's an artifact and he's a creature, so he's pretty damn easy to blow up. But here's the fun part. So he doesn't have haste, but Mirage Mirror. So he comes out, okay, Summoning Sickness. Mirage Mirror's been on the field for 3 turns. And yeah, he probably did come out. Mirage Mirror is 3. You just reduced him by 3. So you pay 2, clone this, and Mirage Mirror does not leave the battlefield and re-enter as a Metalwork. It just becomes a Metalwork. So you can swing with it because you continuously controlled Mirage Mirror since the beginning of your turn, which is the exact definition of Summoning Sickness. So if you get something good out like Herald or Metalwork, you clone it and then swing immediately. So now it's like, I don't know, Hammer of Perforos kind of. That's probably the closest I can get. We're just, oh, now it's a huge threat and it has haste. And there's 2 of them, so it's actually even better. Now, the other thing is Mirage Mirror with Herald of Anguish. Just with the order that this happens in, it says, at the beginning of your end step, each opponent discards a card. So you clone Herald, swing with maybe both of them or one of them, whatever. And then during your end step, Mirage Mirror, at the beginning of your end step, I should say, Mirage Mirror is still a copy of it. So guess what? They have to discard 2 cards. Ouch. And yes, I do this almost every single game. It's just so funny how well this works. Now, the other thing, by the way, Herald has pay 2, sacrifice an artifact you control, probably a Prophetic Prism, and then target creature gets -2, -2. I've done this 3 times to take out a giant creature, like some big flying sphinx or something, and then I just kept swinging until I won. So, yeah, very, very doable. Very doable. And the only other trick is that Metalwork Colossus can come back out of the graveyard. I always forget that. Always. So if they finally blow them up, you can just sacrifice 2 artifacts. Oh, good. Prophetic Prism, bye. Or Pacification Array. I don't need 3 of them. Or Mirage Mirror. I'm done with it. And then, ta-da, you bring them back to your hand. And then probably cast them back out for 0, theoretically. So, very good. I mean, this deck doesn't look like anything too special, but it's just so fast. I mean, you're swinging with 5/5s. You get a 3/2 out. You're cloning stuff. You're cloning stuff so that it effectively kind of has haste. You got, you know, another 5/5, a flying 5/5, and then a 7/5, and then a giant super beast just coming out on like turn 6, 7, 8, something like that. I mean, it's just insane. So the only thing that this loses to is incredibly fast decks, because then you'd like have to block with your Filigree or your Thraben or whatever and then lose it, and then there goes your improvise, and now you're manually ramping up with 22 lands. Not very doable. So we've got Rune Rat, which is just a 1/1 Death Toucher for 2. Sweet. When it dies, exile target card from an opponent's graveyard. That's funny. I usually forget that. It's horribly unimportant unless they have a Metalwork in there or a Scrap Heap Scrounger. And then Aether Poisoner. This one's way better. I mean, way better, because it's a 1/1 Death Toucher, but when it enters the battlefield, you get 2 energy, and then when it attacks, you may spend 2 energy, and if you do, create a 1/1 colorless servo artifact creature token. So there's another improviser. Very nice. Almost made it to the main board, but this deck is just so damn fast, I don't need a stall delay card that shuts them down for a couple turns. And then if they're really speeding or dumping out like servos or something, Bontu's Last Reckoning, wipe the board for 3, and turn 3 is exactly when you would want to do it if they're running red or red-green rush. Either one, like energy rush or traditional red rush. Yeah, your lands don't untap, but you know what's funny is you don't always need your lands because of improvise. And if you only use, like you had 4 swamps and you use 3 on Bontus, you still have 1 open, and so you can still hit like Battle at the Bridge for 6 with improvise and use your last swamp and then just tap a whole bunch of artifacts. So really fitting in this deck. You could honestly mainboard it. And then Dispossess, I don't know, if they're running Cheerios or some antique deck, I don't know, vehicles, Dynavolt Tower, I guess. Feel free to swap it out with something else. This is just like the standard sideboard right now for black, pretty much, so whatever. Like if you're running a kind of slower-ish deck, and this, I mean, it has some build-up. It's like, it feels fast, but it's not like turn 3 fast. It does next to nothing for 2 turns, so you know, keep that in mind. So watch for some gameplay footage, because I know this deck list looks like utter crap. I kind of just built this just to feel it out, see if it would work. Maybe it would be kind of a fun deck. It's definitely a cheap deck. I mean, this deck's probably 25 bucks tops if you don't count the Bontus in the sideboard. Honestly, nothing in this deck is worth anything except for Herald, and I think he's like 250 or something. Maybe 3-4 bucks. I didn't really check. Not a damn thing else in here is worth any amount of money. Metalwork is under $1, I think. Fen Hauler is garbage. Barricade is an uncommon. This has been out forever. It's actually a reprint. I think it was in like Origins or something. And then I think it was in like M14 too. Like it's like a reprint of a reprint of a reprint. That's nothing. Oh, Mirage Mirrors are really expensive. Those are like $253 bucks. But that's it. But that's, you know, that's why it's not an $11 deck. Like I said, 25 bucks. That's about it. Battle at the Bridge, and maybe $1. Oh, and the Mirrorpools, I think those actually cost a little bit. I think those are like $3-4 bucks. And then the Inventors Fairs are actually kind of up there too, a little bit. But those are super not necessary at all. They just add a little bit extra spice. So, like I said, watch for the gameplay, because you are going to be very surprised by just how shock and awe this deck is. That'll be uploading soon, so I will see you guys next video.